Welcome to Post Game Live, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. The Patriots lose to the Buffalo Bills at Gillette Stadium tonight. Your final score is 24-10. You might say, hey, they only lost by 14. It felt like 44-10. What a really disheartening game for the Patriots on a Thursday night wearing their throwback uniforms. We're here with Tommy Curran. We got Ted Johnson, Matt Cassel, and Michael Holley in for Amina Smith. Let's go around the table, fellas. Let's just talk about what your biggest takeaway of many is from this night, Tom.
It's simple. We talked about this game as a final exam type game, or at least an exam to see how far they had come since January. Not very far, if at all. I understand they made them punt, but they were also non-competitive, and I got a vibe that by the end of the game, actually pretty early in the game, the Bills weren't necessarily taking the Patriots extremely seriously. So the notion that they were ripe for the picking, not for this Patriots team.
You know, my biggest takeaway, guys, is that this is probably, for me, at least I feel like this is the lowest the Patriots have been post-Tom Brady era. Like this game, in this moment right here, they could have could have been a referendum on their defense in this game. Maybe they could have come out and showed something, and they didn't. And the way they played in the hometown, and their home crowd at home was, I thought, embarrassing in a lot of respects, the way they played. And so to me, this feels like the lowest point in the post-Tom Brady era.
Right, and the crazy part about it is they could have been in at the halftime, as bad as they played in the first half, 17-10. They missed the field goal, and then they come out in the second half, and they just, the offense could not get into a rhythm all day long. They were 3 of 12 on third down. They didn't get down to the red zone until the very end of the game when the game's over at that point. And it's almost as if this team cannot overcome any negative plays, and they cannot create explosive plays. They had the one explosive plays, DeMarcus Jones, which was for the touchdown early on. But other than that, they can't get the ball down the field, and that is really concerning because the defense can't spend almost 40 minutes on the field and expect them to be competitive against an offense like the Buffalo Bills.
And it's disheartening, guys. I mean, the offense showed some signs of life last week, and I think that was probably the most optimistic people have been about this offense was the performance from Mac Jones in the offense last week, even in a losing effort. And you kind of like, it feels like all season long, and even in that game last week, and then this game tonight against the Buffalo Bills, the Patriots, anytime something good happens to them, they can't seize the momentum. They just can't get anything consistently going in that last game, and really clearly in this game, and then in this season when they had an opportunity to beat a division opponent, they just really laid an egg tonight.
Would you guys say that's probably the most disheartening thing, to use that word again, is that you had this opportunity. You could go to 7-5. You could keep the Buffalo Bills winless in the division. You could prove finally that you're ready to compete with the big boys. And you could do that with a win, obviously. But they didn't even do that in the loss. You know, it wasn't one of those close losses where, they had a chance at the end, just this bad call, bad play. It was never there, Tom. It was almost like the life was just being squeezed out of them consistently throughout this game by the Buffalo Bills.
Non-competitive. And you can't be non-competitive against the best team in your division. I don't care who's in first place. This is the measuring stick for you. It's what you're pursuing, and they were non-competitive against them. It would be one thing if personnel-wise and roster-wise they were wholly overmatched. But when you see the first third down opportunity of the entire game, seemingly some kind of a miscommunication. It looked like Mac was actually in the wrong because there seemed to be a hole further out. Doesn't get the ball cleanly to Ramondre Stevenson.
Here it is.
There's a fumble.
Right.
And that's critical.
That's third and one. Right. That's your first series of the game.
You have to do something to get Josh Allen and the Bills offense sequestered on that sideline, and you failed to do it there.
Tom, you said it. I think you just nailed it right, hit it right on the head when you said it's non-competitive. I mean, you listen to Bill Belichick's comments after last year's playoff game against the Bills. He said it was the most non-competitive game they had all season long. Well, to me, this was clearly the most non-competitive game the Patriots have had all season long, both against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I just think they embarrassed you tonight. I really do. Yeah. I mean, if I'm a Patriot player right now, I'm feeling pretty embarrassed by that performance.
What was the most, Cassel, if you agree with that, I do. If you agree with it, what was the most embarrassing part of this game if you're a Patriots player and a Patriots fan?
Well, you can point to so many different things. I think that they were up to the challenge from a physical standpoint at times defensively, but at the same time, it's non-competitive because it felt like as soon as Buffalo took the lead, there was no ability for them to fight back and get back in the game, right? They took the early lead, and then after that, they had 3 and outs for the rest of the first half. Then you get to the second half. They had 2 series in I think the second half, maybe 3 series total, but they let them go down on a 94-yard drive, 15 plays, took up 9 minutes, and that right there is a telling sign that that's when you start to get beat up physically, right, and mentally as well, where you're sitting there going, gosh, we can't get off the field. And when you look at the stats for Buffalo Bills, they won situationally. They won on third down. They won in the red zone. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. And what did they do this game? They didn't do it with Josh Allen's arms, Stephon Diggs, throwing it all over the yard like we've been accustomed to seeing against the Patriots team. No, what they did is they ran the ball down their throat, and it was methodical. It was 4-yard gains, 5-yard gains, 6-yard gains, first down, and that was what the concerning part was. They could not get off the field. So that's what is really concerning, and at the same time, got to be something that's difficult to handle as a player.
It's a step back from week to week, where we were last Thursday, Thanksgiving against Minnesota, but it's probably a step back as a program, too. Last week, you can point to a number of games. Hey, if not for that kickoff return, if they had called holding there, if not for that missed touchdown, if you think it was, Hunter Henry, did he have control? Did he not? They could have had control there. Why couldn't they do this? Why couldn't they do that? Maybe that block punt, running into the kicker. Tonight, Ted, can you point to one situation where the game would have turned if they made one play, if not for this? I mean, is there one sequence where you say, hey, if they are able to do this, it's a different kind of game? I really can't. Can you?
Well, I think maybe they had an opportunity there right before half.
The field goal?
They
48-yard bounce?
Yeah, I mean, forcing the fumble and then getting the ball and having a chance to. I don't know. I mean, they ended up missing the field goal.
Right bounced off the crossbar, 48 yards.
With some clock mismanagement.
That is, but it's like there's Josh Allen doing what he does, which is turning the ball over. I mean, nobody turns the ball over more than Josh Allen. And the Patriots just can't capitalize. They were a turnover machine on defense early in the season, but the offense doesn't capitalize on the turnovers the defense gets for them. And they didn't in this game. And to me, that was kind of a soul-crushing series of plays where great pass rush by Josh Uche. You get around their left tackle, force a fumble. That's what Josh Allen does. And then let's go. And then they miss a field goal partly because of bad 2-minute operation.
Which just happened last week, which is the same thing, a litany of first-half penalties, which just happened last week. I know the Bill was in a little bit of denial about the number of penalties and where they came from, but the penalties came up and cropped up in the first half to help sideline them. The reason they can't cash in is they can't cobble one single thing together other than number 38 that can help them on a regular basis. If not for Ramondre Stevenson.
Tell me about it.
Woo! On this
He's 30% of your offense, Tom.
And it's coming after contact.
After contact.
But these are early in the game mistakes, fortunately on the spot there, but you also had a Trent Brown. There it is, the cut block effort for the second week in a row. He tried a cut block last week in a critical area. That's his guy, forcing an intentional grounding after a kickoff return miscue that resulted in a penalty, leading to this delay of game, which then results in a punt that puts Buffalo in your territory. I think that's distressing. Also distressing to me is to see, and you might not agree with this, Matt, we talked about it a little bit as it happened. It's midfield, you're at the 46. I know it's 4th and 7, but it's the fourth quarter. You're going to punt it away and you're down 24-7. Are you trying to win the game or are you trying to save face? You're going to kick a field goal when you're down 24-7 with 3 minutes left. Are you trying to score touchdowns, which you need to do, and you know you're not going to be down there again, or are you trying to save face?
I feel like you've seen, I would say, clues to that even starting last year, like where there's a lot of decisions where I feel like they're more about saving face than they are winning football games. I mean, you can look at, I think, the Tampa Bay game last year, the Dallas game last year, where there was opportunities where you could have seized those games, that game, and you didn't do it. Time and time again, I feel like there's games in which the Patriots are just trying not to get bludgeoned to death instead of trying to actually win football games.
Right, but I also believe I would have to say that Tom was correct in that circumstance, and I would say, yeah, go for it. What do you have to lose at that point in the game, right? You're down 3 scores. You got to come from behind anyway, so might as well go for it on 4th and 7. If they get the ball back, they've been running the ball anyway and sustaining drives, so go give yourself a chance potentially to pick it up and get a first down.
And that's not a critical juncture in the game. That's not where it was won or lost. But to me, it goes to the mindset of where the team is right now. We've got to put some points on the board against these guys. This is disgusting. I mean, the only touchdown they got, and God bless them for getting it, was Marcus Jones on his first offensive play on a screen pass, just.
And we're like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Who's that?
It was a great play.
Awesome.
I yelled the first time. It's the first time I might have gotten legitimately enthused about the offense since 2018.
The only time.
And I was giddy.
It's the only time tonight. I mean, this whole thing was a slog. They couldn't get anything going. And if you want to know what the soundtrack was for this game, try it on Spotify. It's called A Constant Boo. I mean, they just booed.
That's what the sound came through as.
They were booing.
Bad energy.
It was like a murmur.
I've never heard
entire
it so
night.
quiet. Yeah, Gillette Stadium was so quiet.
The entire night.
And I thought maybe after that play, Michael, that they would go to him a little bit more. I mean, they did one time, but that was about it.
But what I said too earlier in halftime was they probably had a little package for him.
Right.
He's not an offensive player.
Right.
He's a guy that's hard to get into the rotation and
just to get a touchdown out of it.
You got a touchdown. That's exactly what you wanted to achieve. Right. You put him in a situational football, and also they had a run called. All of a sudden, they bring the guy off the slot. What's his name? Mac Jones, of course. Mac Jones sees it, throws it to Marcus, and he's able to break a tackle and go. But they're not going to put him in there for sustained drives and be a down-to-down player.